All right, well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to an episode of Cooking with Bryson. We're just getting some final prep going, but our guest chef tonight is Carolina Terrazas, joining us all the way from Kansas City.
Hi, guys.
Oh, bacon. I need to make sure I get my bacon. For those of you who want to cook along with us, I mean, obviously it's not like you have a pork tenderloin already handy in the fridge or the freezer at this point, but the recipe is posted at Twitter under Bryson Board. Certainly Dork Phoenix has also tweeted it a couple of times. And we will be recording this, so we will share it afterward.
I need to keep that in mind before I open my mouth and say things. We're gonna record it and share it.
All right, Carolina. So what are we making tonight? Does it have a name?
Just brown sugar bacon wrapped pork tenderloin. I haven't named it. I guess we could come up with a name. That might be fun.
Well, this is your opportunity. It would be helpful if you spoke toward the mic. You're coming in a little garbled.
Let me put on, if it would be helpful, I could put on my AirPods so I have one close to my face. Might be helpful. Let's grab those.
Sure. If anybody has any questions during the cast, obviously my hands will be a little bit dirty because I'm also cooking along here, but just throw them in the webinar chat and I will answer them or ask Carolina on your behalf as soon as I can. All right.
Let me see if I can use through the Bluetooths so you can hear me even when I'm over there chopping things.
Are you AirPodded up? Oh, we lost you. What happened? All right, we just lost Carolina, so hopefully she will be joining us here shortly. All right, still waiting for her to come back on. She'll be on shortly. Up, she's back on. All right. The challenge with computers is they crash. Oh no, she's offline. All right. Well, don't forget you can ask questions in the chat. How many folks are cooking along with us? You can comment here in the chat. All right, she's back online.
I'm back. Sorry. Of course,
There we go.
my laptop picked that moment to die.
Okay. All right.
I'm back. Sorry.
100 people. All right. So where are we at? What, you come up with a name in the meantime?
I'm sorry, I just switched to my AirPods. I didn't catch what you said.
All right. So do we have a name?
Oh, for the dish?
Yeah, boy.
It's just the brown sugar bacon wrapped spicy pork tenderloin. I haven't come up with a creative name for it. The crew can help us name it if anybody has a strong opinion either way.
Sounds good. So since this feels really appley to me, and that's actually what I'm going to cook mine with, I've decided I am going to drink a local Virginian cider, Bold Rock.
Very nice. I'm currently drinking gin, Roku. I'm drinking some Roku gin.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of, and a little bit of lime juice and ginger beer. I'm a fan of Gosling's ginger beer.
Yeah. So where are we at? What are we doing here?
All right. So step one, when you're cooking a pork tenderloin, which may not seem obvious when you're looking at it, if you look at both sides, let me make sure I'm centering this. So you'll see one side is mainly just straight up meat, which is what she said. Other side has sort of a silvery skin on it. You want to remove this before you cook it. You'll find it can be very tough if you don't. So if you can, just start at the end, use your knife to kind of get it going. And then some pork tenderloins, it's really easy to just pull it off. Sometimes you have to use the knife a little bit more aggressively than other pork tenderloins. It looks like this one's not going to be easy, of course, because that would make too much sense while I'm doing it in front of people for it to just pull right off. But just this connective tissue, so this silvery skin you see on the back or front, I guess, depending on your perspective. I thought about doing this ahead of time, but I want to make sure people see how to do this. All right, I got this started down here. It's okay if a little bit of tenderloin comes off with the skin, but if you do it well, it should just be good. Because otherwise, you're going to be trying to chew through this, and you will not enjoy. And that's not the same as fat. I mean, you'll see some fat deposits on here. Fat is a good thing when it comes to meat, when it comes to cooking meat. But this connective tissue, nobody wants to chew through. All right. Just about got it off. one more strip that really needs to come off here. While we're doing that, oven is preheating to 350. If you're like me and have a crappy electric oven, that takes forever. You might want to start it now, even though we've got some steps to perform first before it goes in the oven. More silvery stuff. Oakley dokley. That's most of it. So if you're cooking with us at home, hopefully you saw the ingredients list. Includes brown sugar, salt, cayenne pepper, paprika. So I'm just going to put all that together in a bowl. Specifically, we want 3 tablespoons of packed brown sugar. I'm just gonna, I like to approximate because we're rubbing all this in. So if you overdo it, it's okay. We just want to approximately get that much. There's my brown sugar. Now we're going to go 1/4 teaspoon cayenne pepper. I like spice, so I tend toward a little bit more than 1/4 teaspoon, but that's what the recipe calls for. For people who aren't quite such a fan of spice, maybe stick closer to that. And then 1/2 teaspoon paprika. If you want to get really fancy, use smoked paprika. I don't have any of that on hand, so we're just going to use regular paprika.
Yeah, so just a quick aside there, smoked paprika, I mean, it costs the same. It's widely available, and it really brings an extra, like, little bit of kick to a whole bunch of meals.
Yeah. And then you want to go 2 teaspoons salt. And this is going to be our rub for the
And we're doing
tenderloin.
kosher salt, right?
What's that?
Kosher salt?
Kosher salt.
Yeah. So for those of you at home, kosher salt actually is about half as much salt as regular salt. So anytime you ever see a recipe, if you're going to do kosher salt, you do twice as much and half as much for just traditional table salt.
So before we coat it, you want to make sure you've patted the tenderloin dry, just like with a paper towel. I already did that before we go in here. And I meant to put these gloves on before I started futzing with the skin, but I neglected to do that, so we're going to do that now. All right. So we're going to rub. Go ahead.
Pat the tenderloin dry.
What's that?
Why do we want to pat the tenderloin dry?
It just has a tendency to make the rub stick a little bit better. It tends to, when you buy a pork tenderloin at the store, it tends to be packed in some juices. So if you just slap it on the surface that you're working with and it's still super juicy, you're going to find A, it's a mess, and B, the rub doesn't stick as well.
Yeah, so this applies as well to barbecue because effectively, if you do this earlier, it's kind of like a dry brine. You always want to check to see if your meat has already been brined. So anytime you see that they've added extra juices, they basically have injected salt into your meat. So you want to be careful about not making it too salty. So always correct for that and look for it.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to do both sides.
I already can smell that flavor just from spices through my hands. It smells really good.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought about, Bryson and I talked about this earlier, I've thought about doing this with like a mustard chutney is another way that you could kind of vary this. Or for those of you who like spicy things more than other folks, I just used a little bit of extra cayenne, but you could substitute that for any number of other spicy things just to give it that kick. Make sure you got it all nice and coated. All right, so we should have a nice coated tenderloin now with no silver skin on it. All right, so now we're gonna wrap the bacon. So what I like to do is kind of lay it out first makes the process a little bit easier. So I like to overlap the strips a little bit, kind of helps in the structural integrity of the operation. So you kind of overlap them just by a scotch. I am using a local place, Frick's Applewood smoked bacon, because it adds a little bit more flavor, and I'm always a fan of that. I thought about smoking this dish. A couple of people have suggested that when they've seen me make it and post it. It only cooks for, I mean, we're gonna brown it in a skillet for 6 to 7 minutes each side, and then we're gonna put it in the oven for 15 minutes. So the reason I don't smoke it is because it just doesn't cook for very long. And I try not to overcook it. I mean, it's not gonna be gross or anything if you cook it for too long, but I like it on a little bit less overcooked side, less cooked side. So anyway, and you don't need to lay out enough bacon to account for the entire length of the tenderloin because you're gonna interweave it.
There's mine.
Nice. Yep. So I'm gonna start up here.
Because I have a hungry brother and sister-in-law at home, and they eat everything. So I'm gonna make sure I have plenty for them.
Excellent. Yes, because the house will smell of it, and they will want to know what is going on. And as you can see, I came up a little bit short. So when I'm done sort of weaving these together, I'm going to add another 1 or 2 for this exposed end down here. All right, so I'm going to get another piece or 2 down here. You can secure this with toothpicks if you want, but I feel like if you overlap the bacon strips well enough, it does a pretty decent job of staying together. And then you don't have to worry about, let's just say hypothetically, you like to drink and cook, stabbing yourself with a tiny toothpick, which is, you know, always super fun, or forgetting they're in there. That's always a fun choice. All right. So as you can see, mine is now wrapped end to end. At this point, we're going to heat up some oil in a large cast iron skillet. I've already got a little bit of oil in the pan over here, so I'm going to turn the heat on to medium. Depending on what kind of stove you've got, you might want to go a little bit on the higher end because we're not going to cook it completely here. We just really want to sear both sides. So I probably should have turned that on while I was wrapping. My bad. I'll show you a couple other things while it's heating up. One, in fact, I'm going to change the burner here because I like this burner a little bit better. We are also going to make a couple of sides. So while that is heating up, I'm going to use a little bit more oil too. I like olive oil. I've seen this done, this type of process done with canola oil. Really, it's just it's a preference thing. Just make sure you use something that's heat neutral, that's okay to get hot. Not all oils are set up for that. Some oils, it's actually really bad to get them super hot. So just make sure you're looking for a heat neutral oil. So for the sides, while that's getting hot, I have pre-prepared some jalapenos stuffed with crab and cream cheese and wrapped in bacon, staying on theme. So I'm gonna stick those in the oven when I stick the tenderloin in. So I cook those for about 30 minutes. And then
when can I come over and eat those? Those look amazing. Can you went by that with the camera too fast? Can you show that again, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So these are crab and cream cheese stuffed. I basically halved the jalapenos and jammed them full of goodness and then wrapped them in bacon. And then I just throw them on some foil because I'm lazy and don't like to scrub dishes, and that keeps the pan relatively clean.
So for me, what I did is I've got some golden Yukon that I've boiled. I toss them with milk, butter for just easy mashed potatoes. I'm going to add some cilantro in for a little extra flavor. And then I'm going to be, for my sides, also roasting onions and just plain old cut apples, because I thought that went really well with this dish.
Yeah, and I'm going to do potatoes as well. I'm actually going with red potatoes, but otherwise similar in butter and milk after being boiled. So I'm going to put these on again while we're waiting for the oil to get hot.
So I'm really excited about the secret ingredient for this, which was the Mike's Hot Chili.
Yeah.
So that's coming, right? I mean, hot chili, the hot honey. That's coming, right?
That is coming.
Okay, because
So,
this has been the thing I've been waiting for. I've been so excited about throwing this on something.
so we're going to do that in between the browning step and the oven step. We're going to throw the honey on top.
Yeah, so for folks who don't have that at home, what could they be doing right now to prep something like that?
So making your own spicy honey is actually really easy. This is literally just honey that's been infused with chilies. I got it on Amazon for pretty cheap, but you can make this yourself at home. Cut up some peppers of your liking. Really just depends on how spicy you like things. You might do it with jalapenos if you like it on the more mild side, all the way up to, you know, things like habaneros if you like something on the spicier side. You're going to just put the honey in a pan and warm it up to simmer with the chilies in the pan. So you'll pour the honey over on top of the chilies, bring it to a simmer, then turn it off and let it cool down. Strain out the, you can pour it through a mesh strainer if you have one to make sure you get all the seeds and the actual pepper guts out of the honey. And then you have the same thing that I have right here.
All right, I'm ready to throw mine on. My oil is hot.
Mine's getting hot. Just keep these a little bit more hot. So if you, sorry, my mute here. Bark about nothing.
That's my bacon dance.
Yeah, they're barking at your dance.
Well known the world over, every chef needs a bacon dance. This is a thing. Get a dance.
So yeah, if you're at a stage where your oil is nice and hot, you can go ahead and throw that puppy in there. We're going to go 6 minutes-ish each side to get it nice and brown and seared before we put it in the oven. Well, it's probably enough potato. Mine's getting there. It's almost ready. Yeah, the dogs did not get the memo that there would be people listening in to our house right now. Oh yeah, I like a potatoes. I'm also going to make, by the way, which I hadn't mentioned, some knockoff Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuits. So I've got that prepped over here. I'm just going to add the cheese and drop it on a baking sheet. I'll probably throw those in the oven when we take the tenderloin out, because the tenderloin needs to rest for roughly 15 minutes. That's about how long those take to bake. So that way everything's done at the same time.
So I'm just shifting mine around so the bacon doesn't stick to the bottom, because you can have that happen. There's kind of two pieces there. One, if you haven't gotten your surface hot enough before you put something on, the food is more likely to stick. The other piece, move things around, obviously that prevents it from sticking as well.
Yeah. All right. Turn that burner on while we're at it. I guess I might as well mention these knives that I'm using that I buy, and they are amazing. They are made by a company called Global. I got them on Amazon, but they carry them at Williams-Sonoma, a lot of other places. They are by far the sharpest knives I have ever used. Obviously not the only game in town, but John asked me a bunch of good questions about how often I wanted to sharpen them, the answer to which predictably was not very often. And thus he recommended these. I got a set. Never realized how much of a huge difference it makes until I bought them and started using them. And now I can't imagine why I've spent my whole life using crappy blunt cheap knives. I even thought I was doing okay. Like I bought a set that was like $100. I thought, oh, I've got nice knives now. No, not compared to these anyway. They are not dishwasher safe, which is kind of a pain, but it's okay. All right, so my oil's hot. My potatoes are cooking. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this puppy, hopefully without singeing myself, into said oil. Oh yeah, that's gonna be nice and crispy. So I got this, let's just say out because I was going to use it. I like it because you can use it on the stovetop or in the oven. But I'm a big fan of the way this particular pan makes bacon. So I'm going to stick with it for now. And then I'll throw this on a cookie sheet or other oven safe dish when it's time to bake. And this will be about the right size for the tenderloin. Okay. So like I said, about 6 minutes each side, but use your judgment. If you feel like the bacon is getting browned, I mean, don't let it burn because it's not been 6 minutes yet. I like to use tongs to help me manage this phallically shaped piece of meat rather than a spatula or some other tool. Oh, yeah, I'll need that eventually. Okay, let's go ahead and mix up these biscuits. All right. So I use parchment paper on these particular biscuits, keep them from sticking to the pan. You can also just grease it if you want, but I like parchment paper. All right, I can tell this is already getting a little skin doing its thing. I'm gonna flip her over. Oh yeah. You see that nice golden brown? That's what we want right there in the middle. Okay, where's my spoon? Gonna not overmix this just until a dough forms. I should probably do this in front of the camera, huh? You can actually buy this, by the way, at the grocery store in the baking aisle. They make, like Red Lobster themselves make the branded Cheddar Bay biscuit box of goodness that you can buy. Then all you have to add is cheese and butter and water. Makes it very easy, and they taste pretty damn close. Don't normally make them this big. but which she might have said. But I like fewer, more giant biscuits because I have a tendency to not eat the leftover ones, even though they make perfectly good leftover biscuits. If you're in a house, so they'll probably get eaten all in one night. You can go a little bit smaller if you want. Here, here. All right, that is about ready for me to take it off. I can tell by the browning of the bacon on the side. We're not trying to cook it, obviously, to completion here in the skillet because we're about to put it in the oven. So oven temp is 350. Again, because my oven sucks, I turned it on like right as the webcast started, right before the webcast started. Because otherwise, we'd still be waiting on it to heat up. Switching to gas is a primary objective. Upcoming project list. Oakley dokley. Now, this. And again, because I'm lazy and don't like to scrub pans, I'm going to line it with foil. When it gets done and we let it rest, we're actually going to tint it in some foil. So it's not super essential that you have foil for this step for the baking, but when it comes time to let it rest, you do want to make sure you have some foil on hand. Another indication of my laziness, I like these pre-cut foil sheets. All right. So we're going to check it. I'm going to flip it over just a minute further. Oh, yeah. That's what we want. So I'm going to transfer it here to the pan for the baking. All right, you can kind of see why we did that step on the stove is because we wanted to get some nice browning of the bacon, which would not happen if we just jam that puppy directly in the oven. So I'm going to throw it in the oven. 10 to 14 minutes. The key is going to be 140 internal temperature before we take it out to rest. It will continue to cook and get hotter once we tint it in foil after we take it out. But that's what we're looking for is 140. So I'm going to set a timer for 10 minutes to check it. Probably will take more like 14. We got our potatoes cooking. I'm actually going to throw these peppers in there too because I like to cook them for about 30. And that's about the sum total of the baking plus the resting. So I threw those in there now. Make sure that's not hot. Scooch that off the burner. I'm not going to transfer these potatoes to this burner. Easier for me to reach. Oop. Oakley dokley. All right, we got about 14 minutes. 10 to 14 minutes for that to come out, and then we're going to tint it. We got a brief pause in the action here.
All right, so first of all, reminder to everybody, please put questions in the chat if you have any. Meanwhile, Carolina, so what's your story? How did you get into Infosec?
Well, so firstly, it's Carolina, but that's okay. I get Carolina all the time.
That's my accent.
I wouldn't be fussy about it, but it's my Mexican grandmother's name. She would care. So I got an Infosec, as many things, good things in life that I picked up because of a boy. I moved back to Kansas City about 11 years ago, and I had a friend that worked over at Fishnet Security, a couple of friends actually, that I'd known since childhood, who suggested that it was silly that I was working in retail, because I was at the time. But at, this was back in 2009, so I would have been, 2008, I would have been about mid-20s, early 20s, and I was making what I thought was pretty good money at the time, given that I worked in retail. I sold cell phones and made like 60 grand a year, which seemed like a fortune. But they said, you know, I was on my feet all day and it was retail. I had a lady throw a cell phone at me from across the counter one time, a Palm Trio, no less, which, you know.
Why did she throw a cell phone at you?
Because I wouldn't fix it for her for free.
No.
She'd gotten it wet and she was mad that she was going to have to buy a new one because she didn't have insurance. So she threw it at me from about as far away as I am to this laptop right now, which, if you remember anything about the Palm Trio, it was a stout device, had some heft to it. So I was complaining about how much my job sucked and they encouraged me to check it out. So I interviewed at Fishnet and got a job on their everyone's favorite thing who works in Infosec now, on their cold calling lead generation team. So I had to know enough about every single product in Infosec to at least strike up a conversation with some poor CISO who happened to pick up his phone, usually Tim back then. Now I can confidently say his or her phone, and try to convince them to do business with Fishnet. That company is now part of Optiv Security, for those of you who aren't familiar with Fishnet, based in Kansas City. So I joined that team and learned that Infosec was not boring, ever. So I stuck with Fishnet for a few years, and from there I went to, because I'd studied programming in college, I went to a custom software dev shop here in Kansas City called Mersoft. They did custom apps for a lot of other local companies. And I got to see how the sausage was made in the real world from a dev perspective. And it was not my favorite thing. Not in any way slighting anyone who works in development and really enjoys it. It was just not for me. I found the hard way that because I tend to be a social person, a little bit extroverted at times, that I didn't like sitting in a cube and not talking to anyone for 40 plus hours a week. And so I left and went to a two-factor authentication company called Phone Factor, which was also headquartered here in Kansas City. We were about 50 employees. And we got acquired by Microsoft about a year after I went there. So I spent about a year with Microsoft integrating that two-factor authentication solution to their product stack. It was mainly the reason they bought us was to get people more comfortable with putting things up in Azure. So we were, what you see today is Windows Azure Active Authentication is basically Phone Factor and a Microsoft REST. And they've, from what I've heard, done some crappy things with that product since. It used to be really cool. It was actually the first 100% out of band two-factor authentication solution on the market because it didn't rely on anything on the machine itself, and your response is out of band. So unlike traditional token methods where you got a temp passcode that you had to type back into a potentially compromised browser or application on your laptop, your response mechanism was also out of band, and that was kind of a bit. We also did biometric authentication sort of before a lot of folks did voice biometric authentication. It actually worked pretty well. Not many folks took advantage of it, but it was cool. So that's how I ended up in the maws, the great jaws of Microsoft for a good year and a half, and then left there, and it took me about 6 months to find another job, and that's what brought me to Cisco. And that was 6 years ago. So that is my story in a nutshell.
All right, so I apologize, everybody. I just found where your questions were. I was looking in the chat, but I guess you didn't capture that. So Ruben, you asked a question about, did you mention the temp for the bacon? I assume you've figured out now that how we're doing that is by essentially searing it around. Let's see what else we got. What was the name of the knives that Carolina, Carolina? Did I get that right this time?
Yeah, yes, you did.
What was the name of the knives that Carolina mentioned earlier?
They're called Global Knives.
Global Knives.
Definitely worth it. They're a little pricey, but you don't have to buy like 10 of them. Like the set I bought only had 5, and I use them every single day. I cannot believe I used anything but them up until this point. They are so sharp. Be careful about, drinking and cooking like I like to do, because I've definitely cut myself. And John did warn me about that. I still managed to cut myself. More than once, possibly.
Yeah, I'm still wondering, so from his memorial, we had an offer to have a custom knife done in his honor. I haven't heard anything more about that, so that's something I have to follow up on.
Yeah, me neither. That would be amazing. I would totally buy that.
All right. Again, I apologize, everybody. I didn't realize you were all asking questions. I was looking in the wrong space. Episode number 1. We'll get better. So you went from people literally throwing phones at your head to now being, you know, people just always throwing phones at your head.
Yeah, a little bit less of that now. Now it's more, hey, this one widget isn't perfect, and I'm going to yell at you about it for 10 minutes. But you know, that experience in retail certainly taught me how to deal with with that customer approach. And actually cooking, so back in the day, my very first job when I was 14 was bagging groceries at a local grocery store here in Kansas City called Miners Thriftway. And they used to have a cookout, a charcoal grill, multiple charcoal grills cookout every Saturday and Sunday on the sidewalk out in front of the store. Naively at the time, I didn't realize until I did it for a while that it was kind of their secret squirrel way of getting rid of meat that was about to turn instead of wasting it. So I made every Saturday and Sunday over 5 like fairly enormous charcoal grills, chicken breasts, hot dogs, bratwurst, and hamburgers. So that was sort of my first experience with cooking for groups of people and learning to cook at all. Yeah, that was a really long, and it was really hot outside. So if you imagine like the hottest part of the summer and standing over a, you know, pit of fire, multiple pits of fire, it was a little bit of a sweaty job, but I'm glad I did it.
I can imagine that. That is the burden of the cook. So what is one thing that you would offer, some of your wisdom that you learned from cooking along the way?
Ooh. I would say, you know, when you're first starting out, just follow the recipe to a T. If you're finding recipes, if you're just starting out now, like starting to cook, I find Pinterest is a great source of recipes. That's where I found this one. And this is different than the Pinterest recipe. Well, but the point being, once you get into it and start to become comfortable with the actual techniques and how long things take and how things should smell or look, then you can improvise. So like this recipe, the hot honey, that was, you know, me improvising. The cayenne pepper, that was, and some of the paprika, that was somewhat of something I threw in along the way. But, you know, once you're comfortable, experiment. But in the early stages when you're unsure, just follow the recipe. It's, you know, people seem to be amazed when I cook things, and really I'm just following basic directions. So I have a hard time taking a lot of credit for that. But when you start to, let me take temperature. It's been about 10 minutes, so I'm gonna see how we're doing internal temp. I'm looking for 140.
So a question from Happy Gilmore. Do you cook at any barbecue contests?
Oh no, I am not that good. In Kansas City, that's a big deal. The competition barbecue squads that you see go to those things have enormous, ridiculous, custom-made rigs that they put on the back of a truck trailer and truck in there and do amazing things with. And they've been doing it for 20 plus years. I could never hold a candle to those guys. Well, I shouldn't say never. At my current stage of development as a cook, would never be able to compete with those guys currently. So no, I don't. I only barbecue for my own stomach and those of my guests. All right, so we're at about 100. So I'm gonna put it back in.
Mine's at 126. So some ovens come with the temperature probe, so you can measure, see as it goes.
Oh yeah, I guess I'll show you guys. I'm not using it today because I need to replace the batteries in it, but I'm a really big fan for smoking purposes of this guy. It's called Meter. So it's a wireless meat thermometer. Stab it in the meat, walk away. This connects to my Wi-Fi, which connects to, well, this connects here via Bluetooth, and then this connects to my Wi-Fi. And then the app makes it really easy, dummy proof. You just tell the app, oh, I'm making a turkey, or I'm making, you know, a rack of ribs or whatever, and it'll pop up and go, well, USDA recommended internal temperature for a turkey is 165. Given that this turkey is currently at 70 degrees, you know, because I like to leave it out to warm to room temperature before I throw it in the smoker, this cook is going to take 4 hours. And then you can set it to alert you when there's, say, 30 minutes left if you want to come in and make some mashed potatoes and have everything be done at the same time. It really takes a lot of the effort out of it, so I can go play some Xbox or take a nap or do whatever and not have to come down once an hour and check it. I dig that. It's called Meter, M-E-A-T-E-R.
I think you earlier talked about that you haven't done this yet, barbecue or smoked.
I have not done this smoked, no. I feel like when I smoke things, it's a multi-hour ordeal, and it probably takes me half an hour to an hour just to get the smoker warmed up and the smoke rolling and everything ready. This is like a nice weeknight recipe I like to make just on the fly. But you certainly could smoke it. I'll probably try it eventually that way just to see how it turns out. But I did use applewood smoked bacon, so I'm kind of staking it a little bit. Mm-hmm. Potatoes are getting there. I love mashed potatoes.
Who doesn't?
Communist.
Well, that's the default answer for all the food evils.
I'm gonna make another drink. I'm gonna make a drink called, where is my shaker? Oh, here it is. What's this called? The Ladies in Winterfell. Go ahead, sorry.
Does your meter, does it do Bluetooth or just Wi-Fi?
Yeah. So it's Bluetooth from the thermometer to the base station, and you can actually buy, so it comes in 3 different forms. The base model is just Bluetooth, but it means you have to be within, I mean, Bluetooth range is 3 feet max, roughly. So you have to be within 30 feet to get a reading. I got the middle range one that is Bluetooth from the thermometer to the base station, and then the base station transmits the data to my wireless so I can be anywhere in my house.
What games do you play on Xbox?
Currently playing Call of Duty. Prior to that, I was playing the new Gears of War 5. Very excited for the new Assassin's Creed to come out this wintertime. It's a Vikings version, which is going to be cool. I've played every one of those. I've played every one of the Gears. Typically, I will annually say shut up and take my money at whatever Battlefield or Call of Duty comes out. Yeah, those are the main ones. I love the new, the reboot of the Tomb Raider series is incredibly fun. I've played those. I think there's 3 of those.
Are you going to get the new Xbox for, because Valhalla, they showed it off today with the new graphics capabilities.
Hell yes, I am. It's going to give me an excuse. I mean, I upgraded to the One X's specifically because it gave me an excuse to upgrade to 4K TVs. And I have to say, like, so Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a good example. Was actually designed in 4K, it's meant to be played in 4K, and it's creepy real. Like, it is uncanny valley creepy, realistic looking, as is Gears 5, really as is Call of Duty. So yes, likely anytime a new one comes out, they'll release a game that I really want to play. It'll go, well, I gotta buy the new Xbox so I get the most out of the new game. Twist my arm. Here is my colander. I love my brother to bits and pieces, but he likes to put things away. Oh, here it is, where they don't go.
So I know we're supposed to be highlighting you and how wonderful you are, but why don't you do a quick bit on your brother, because he's doing some amazing things.
He is. He's at work right now, actually. So my brother is a nurse at KU Med Hospital. Unfortunately, he was informed the other day that they will likely be cutting their pay 10 to 15% because they have canceled all of their elective surgeries, which is where they make a lot of their profit in light of COVID. So despite the fact that he's out on the front lines being exposed potentially on a basically daily basis for the sake of all of us to take care of people, they're probably going to cut his pay, which I find incredibly irritating. And it's not exclusive, unfortunately, to this hospital. All the hospital systems in the area are doing this, and for the same reason. So my potatoes are done. I just drained them of their water. Now I'm adding the butter. I love butter. There is a lot.
My pork is done.
Awesome. So you're going to want to tent it in foil and let her rest for 15 minutes. If you got a kitchen timer, that's how we rest. I'll check mine as soon as I get these potatoes blended. And I wait to add the milk until I have blended these together, because I have in the past mistakenly accidentally added too much milk. So if I blend them first, then I find that I don't accidentally do that as often.
All right, now I'm hungry.
What's that?
Now I'm hungry. I want to eat
I
it.
I also use a hand mixer with my potatoes because I don't like lumpy potatoes. So nice and smooth.
So for y'all at home, after you cook a meat like this, you let it rest afterward because it redistributes the juices. You're welcome to take that all the way home.
That is absolutely the case. That's true of really any meat, in my experience, whether you're talking steak or chicken or pork or whatever. When it's done, it's not really done. You let it rest. Because what'll happen is, especially I've found when it comes to steaks, but I'm sure it's true of other meats as well, that you'll cut into it and the juices will all run out and then the rest of your steak is dry. So let it rest. Add some milk. And a little bit more. There we go.
How's everybody who's cooking along at home? How's your food coming along?
I saw a question about spice in the chat. What size pork is this, so I know whether to add more or less spice? So my tenderloin, I'll let Bryson answer separately, but my tenderloin I bought at the grocery store was kind of a prepackaged number that came with two. I made the other one the other day. You know, the recipe calls for, if I remember correctly, half a teaspoon. I'll look it up for you, the cayenne pepper piece. But we're also going to add spicy honey on top of it. So, I mean, use your judgment. If you like spice, maybe a little bit more. If you don't, a little bit less. Just keeping in mind, we're going to add additional spice with the chili infused honey at the end. All right, potatoes are done.
So I'm very much the kind of cook that just doesn't measure anything and goes by feel. So my pork tenderloin, I don't know if you saw at the beginning when I was doing prep, mine was about 3 times the size of Lena's. And so I actually adjusted because I saw the way that she was preparing this. I cut mine in half. So I had a smaller circumference to work with the fact that we wanted more of a sear and a quicker cook in the oven. And then when it comes to the spices, I mean, pretty much make a melange, throw it together, make sure you're covering all your meat.
All right,
You wash your potatoes a few times to remove more starch before cooking.
I do wash my potatoes, but and then I peel them and then I rinse them a little bit. But given that they're boiled and then, you know, I strain out the water, obviously that removes even more starch. So I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, so Lena and I were talking about this pre-show that this was going to be something we were going to have a little discussion on, because I always keep my skins on the potatoes. The skin actually has a lot of the nutrients of the potato. One, I'm lazy. I don't like peeling them. It's a pain in the ass. Two, I get the nutrients. So you don't necessarily have to peel it, and you know, whatever works for you.
All right, so my pork is at about 132 degrees. I am gonna go ahead and tent mine before it gets to 140 because I know it's gonna keep cooking while it sits here and is tented. I'm gonna go ahead and put my biscuits in. The peppers are still cooking, but I'll take them out and show them to you guys. You see kind of where they are, what they look like. So I got probably another 15 on these puppies. They're starting to cook, but I like to soften up the peppers, and I like to leave a lot of the jalapeno seeds in it. So I find if I cook them a little bit longer, good 30 minutes or so at 350, then they don't come out scorching guests' faces off, even though I would fully enjoy that. All right, so let me tent this puppy in some foil. Yeah, you can see. Okay,
My mashed potatoes.
nice. These are my potatoes. I throw a little butter on top when I'm done because I like butter.
Yeah, I find the biggest difference in mashed potatoes is what variety you choose. Golden Yukon is, I think, just the best for getting a creamy mashed potato.
Yeah, and I like red potatoes. Just my preference. My brother, who lives in the same house, also likes. Actually, I think he uses white potato. What does he use? He's got russet, Idaho russet potatoes. What he uses.
Russet potatoes are good baking potatoes, not mashed.
I know.
I disagree.
He eats what he wants to eat. He's a big boy. All right, so we're gonna let this sit. So the biscuits, the cheddar bread biscuits I put in, cook for about 13 to 14 minutes. So that should be about when this is done resting. So when they're done, everything will be done. Save the rest of this bacon because it's delicious.
What's the name of your dog?
I have 3. So this is Punky Brewster. She was a foster dog and never left. This is Archer, who's looking at me from the couch, who is the dumb one. And then my old girl, Penny, is outside. They're all mutts. I don't know, Basset Hound Lab mix, Archer. Penny is a Lab, I don't know what mix. And this one's my Tibble mix. We don't know what she is either. Other than a good girl, aren't ya?
All right, Malice is trying to spark something here. She says pierogies versus potatoes.
Really? I love potatoes. I guess there's always going to be potatoes. Put these away.
Why not spray olive oil on the tin foil that goes on top of the pork tenderloin? So you're talking about when you're tenting it?
Yeah, it's not going to stick. I mean, we're not sticking this back in the oven like this, and it's got greasy bacon wrapped around it. It's not going to stick to it. It's fine. If I were putting this back in the oven, then maybe.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, if I was putting this back in the oven to cook some more, maybe, but I'm not, so it'll be fine. It'll come right off.
Yeah, also, I mean, a lot of people like to choose olive oil because it's obviously it's healthier. But with this kind of thing where we're going for a high temperature to crisp the bacon around, olive oil does not have the same, it's actually bad for you if you heat it to too high of a temperature. So that's why she recommended canola oil.
Yeah, high heat neutral oils. I also neglected to show you guys me putting the Mike's Hot Honey on top. I did that right before I threw it in the oven. I just kind of went whoop, and poured a line of it because it drizzles itself as it bakes. I also, because I love it, will add a little bit more at the end, which is what made me think of it. Like, oh, I didn't show you guys that. But I'll show you me adding it at the end.
Mm.
So again, this is really easy to make yourself, but I'm lazy, as I've stated multiple times. So I like to buy this pre-made on Amazon. There's another one I just tried that I like too. It's called Bee's Knees. That is also chili infused. And maybe because this is the first chili infused honey I tried, I happen to be partial to it. But either way, they're like $9 on Amazon. They're not expensive. I cashed this bottle. I'm gonna open this one.
How you coming along
Oh yeah, there we go. All right, I'm gonna retint it. All that honey gets all up in its biz.
Do you have a particular wine or that you would recommend to eat with this?
I'm not a wine drinker, so I'm the wrong person to ask. I'm gonna guess you're gonna have a good answer for that, Bryson.
I think this would be delicious with a fairly robust white. I do not have any off the top of my head. Hold on, let me go see what I got.
How we doing?
Got some. All right. Not to give it extra mystery. I don't know if you can see this at home. It's covered in dust. It is a Mutiny on the Body by Randall Graham. It is a 2012 Grenache Blanc. So I'm going to throw this in the fridge, and this is what I'm going to drink with it. Actually, chilling wine tip. Wrap. So if you want to chill something quickly, wrap it with a paper towel. Not only does it clean off the dust because your wine is comes from the cellar, but then soak your paper towel in water like this. And now with the increased surface area of the moisture, you actually will get your bottle colder faster.
Yep.
Physics is your friend.
Surface area is your friend. We're down to 7 minutes. Yes, I'll make a drink. Let's see. I like gin, so I'm gonna make something gin related. I haven't quite decided what yet. Chicken puppy. As you can see, I am always supervised by the doggos and Basement Cat, who just poked her head around the corner a second ago. Her name is Veronica Corningstone, but she gets referred to as Basement Cat because she never comes out of the basement. Let's see. Let's make a gin drink. I also like to find gin drinks on Pinterest, and then I will save them for later that I would like to try. Oh yeah, I'm gonna make a French martini. I've done this before, it's delicious. All right, put this away, I'm not gonna need this.
All right, my food's ready to serve.
Yay. So you want to cut it in like 1 inch to 1.5 inch sections?
Yep, I'm gonna cut it with the bacon.
Yeah. That's a good plan. All right, so this drink I'm making called the French Martini is 2 ounces vodka. Get my jigger here.
Oh, all right.
1 ounce Chambord. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying my food is not done. My temperature probe is wrong.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my bacon is very raw, or my pork. That is super disappointing.
That'll happen.
Yeah, that'll happen.
That'll happen. All right, so yeah, 2 ounces vodka, 2 ounces pineapple juice.
Thought that was fast.
Yeah, it seemed fast, but I figured just put it in before I did.
I did, but not that much. Is cool.
Now you made me paranoid. I'm gonna check mine again. Oh, I can smell that honey. It's so good. Yep, as predicted, it continued to get hotter after I took it out and tinted it. If you guys recall, when I took it out, it was about 131. It is now 150. Still going. 154. Still going. About 154 and a half. Nope, still going. Yeah, 155 degrees. So, like I said, it will continue to cook after you tint it, which is what we want, while the juices redistribute. So anyway, 2 ounces vodka, 2 ounces pineapple juice, and then we're going to go 1 ounce Chambord. I happen to really like black raspberry Chambord, so that's what I got. I just bought it the other day. I got to open it. Oh, come on. There we go. All right, 1 ounce Chambord, and then a lime twist. Although when I went to the store the other day, they were out of limes, so I don't have any. And then shake it over ice. Hooray. That is a French martini. Cheers. Delicious. 2 minutes left. I'm gonna peek. I'm actually gonna give that another couple minutes because I made those biscuits so large that they have not quite done their thing yet. And I'll melt some butter to drizzle on top of them with this seasoning. To put the butter in the microwave for expedience. Boop. I'm one of those people that ends up not being hungry by the time the food is all done because I've been grazing the whole time. Shut up, oven. Microwave oven. All right. Probably could put some more butter in there. I'm gonna add some more. That'll melt by the time the biscuits are done. I'm not a huge Red Lobster fan, but I do love those damn biscuits. It's the only reason I ever went. So what was your internal temperature when you checked it, Bryson?
90.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, we're up to 100 now, 101.
Nice.
So I did the cheat with one cut. So I've got my meal ready.
Nice. I got my biscuits in another couple minutes. I'm gonna give that to them. And really, it's pretty tough to overcook the peppers. It's just a matter of how soft you like them, and you know, especially if you like them spicy, I'll cook them on the less done side, because then you maintain more of the spicy. If you cook it for longer, then you kind of cook some of the hotness out of it. How's everybody doing?
All right, well, I'm gonna take a bite. I gotta try this. I can't wait anymore. All right.
Did you remember to use your honey? Because I forgot to tell people when I was doing it.
Oh yeah, no, I drizzled my honey all over everything. I knew where that was going. I didn't need to be reminded.
Good.
Mmm. Mm. Oh, mm. Mm. That is so good.
I'm glad you like it.
Mm.
That is my version of comfort food.
Oh yeah.
My peppers are done. I'm gonna go ahead and take them out. This is what they look like. Nice and cooked. Petits obeisants. Wait for the biscuits. And like I said, if I'd been less lazy and made them into smaller biscuits, they'd be done already, but I like giant biscuits.
I'm gonna take a bite with some of the apple that I roasted with it, and I also drizzled the honey all over the apple as well, so it's got a nice like caramelized on top.
Did you cook the apple in the oven with the? You did, didn't you? With your nice. Yeah. Do you see what I mean by like maybe a chutney would be nice, like a mustard-based chutney?
No, it doesn't need it.
No.
No. No, I mean it's pretty umami. I mean it's got the salty, the spicy, savory with the pork.
And the sweet.
I wouldn't add anything to this really. It's
Okay.
I mean there's not a lot to it, but it's the right mix of flavors with that simplicity. It is.
Yay! I'm glad you enjoy. One of my favorite things.
I mean, you can try roasting it with the apples like I did instead, which is kind of, I guess, like a poor man's chutney. How I did it is I sauteed the apples with the pork when we were doing it with the bacon, so that I didn't think I was going to get enough of a bake with the frame. Although
Makes sense.
I probably would have, considering that my pork didn't cook through.
You can be polite for when it is time to play.
We're sorry, Happy. We cannot ship this to Grubhub.
Sorry, bub.
But we encourage you to try it at home yourself And share the.
Yes. Picks and picks and picks.
And here it is.
Honey all over my hands. Yum. And while I'm getting my biscuits for the last couple minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and slice this puppy. And I'm gonna get a fork. Got it easier. God, these knives are sharp. I love it. Someone from Global needs to sponsor me cooking and send me free knives because I love them so much. All right, so anyone at home wants to see the inside of this next to the adorably head-turned puppy who is waiting for me to hopefully drop something, which is not going to happen. Give it up. So I sliced it just a few inches. You can go even in between the bacon if you want, but that's what it looks like. Oops. Go ahead and put this on the plate. And hopefully these biscuits are done. Oh yeah. Think so. Yep, I feel done. All right, so I'm gonna drizzle them with butter. I like to use a brush to make sure it gets evenly distributed with seasonings and the butter. Okay. Need more space. There's the kitchen. All right, that'll work. Butter is delicious. I like butter on all the things. We were talking about this the other night at Cocktail Con. Carl was quoting the late great Anthony Bourdain when he said once on one of his shows, you know what the difference is between what you make at home and what you get when you walk into one of my restaurants? So then he leaned in real close to the camera and goes, a fuck ton of butter. And then he showed like just the giant pan of butter that he uses. I am on board with that.
The Holy Trinity is butter, garlic, and onion.
Damn right. I put garlic in everything.
Tip at home, whenever a recipe says put this much garlic in it, triple it.
Right? Yes, sir. All right. Rolling through, put the potatoes on the plate. Thankfully still hot, even though they've been done a while. Bam. And zip it up. The lots of cheddar bay biscuit. Oh yeah, that's hot. Oop. And a crab and cream cheese stuffed jalapeno wrapped in bacon. Gotta have that. I definitely stole these from the recipe from my local butcher, who sometimes, if they've got jalapenos they need to get rid of, will do this. Pre-make them for you, if you ask. Then I get to be really lazy. Just come home and bake them. That is pretty much that. That is my plate.
All right, let's do a pose with it.
If you can get it in the shot. Come here, pumpkin. Come get in the shot. Come here.
You ready? All right, here you go. Done. All right. Hey, Happy Gilmore, thank you for sharing pictures live on Twitter.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
you can do.
All right. Well, yep. No, please share how much you love it. Like we need you to emote.
I'm doing that with my mouth full. I've had it before, so it's not super shocking to me, but
It's good.
yes, it's good. You'll get some later. Calm down, dog. You know the drill.
All right. Well, Lena, thank you very much for joining me tonight on the inaugural show of Cooking with Bryson. Spicy, honey, delicious, amazing pork tenderloin with insert whatever sides you want to add was incredible. For those of you at home that were cooking along, when's the next cooking show? The next cooking show is going to be in 2 weeks. So I already have my guests lined up. I honestly don't remember who it is right now, but so the next one is going to be on the 21st. The one after that is actually going to move from Thursday to Wednesday. So I'm going to start doing these on Wednesdays instead of Thursdays after the next show in 2 weeks. But the goal is to pump them out weekly. We'll do them every week.
That's what she said.
If there is something that you want to see, let me know. If there's somebody you want me to bring on the show, let me know. But I already have a few folks who are really big into cooking that I plan on bringing to showcase different things. If you cooked at home, please share pictures of what you cooked, what you thought. Just hashtag Hackers Kitchen. And DM me if you have any other questions or comments or feedback. So thank you all for joining us tonight. This will be recorded and posted at some point. That's all I got. First one. I'm learning.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye,